Hello. So today we have a very special episode with a couple of good friends of mine, Lizzy Erickson, who is a producer, audio engineer, composer, and performer, and Oliver Dobrian, who is the drummer for the bands Film Speed and Throwaway, and he is also a performer and singer. So a few announcements before we get into the episode. I have a 4-week run of shows coming up at the Redondo Beach Performing Arts Center in Redondo Beach, California, and the Cerritos Center for the Performing Arts in Cerritos, California. And I will be playing guitar in the pit for 3D Theatrical's production of Mamma Mia. So come and check that out. Welcome to Music in Mind with Anthony Caulkins. Alright, hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Sitting here with my two friends, Lizzy Erickson and Oliver Dobrian, both musicians in the LA area. Lizzy is a performer, composer, producer, audio engineer, master of fine arts.
Yes, all of those things.
Yes, and Oliver is a bachelor.
Yeah, I am
music?
a Bachelor of Arts.
Bachelor of Arts,
Yeah.
And a musician, probably composer, singer, drummer.
Primarily drummer, I guess, but yeah.
The last one I said.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean,
Yeah.
all music things.
Yeah. Cool. So let's just start by just telling YouTube about yourselves a little bit and what you do as an artist in the LA area. We'll start with Lizzy.
Sure. So I came out to California to get my master's, and I did a lot of stuff with prepared piano, and I was really super interested in kind of the intricacies of the piano, and that's what I worked on a lot. And then I kind of did a hard transition when I graduated, and I went straight into a recording studio and started kind of apprenticing with a producer, and he works on a lot of pop music, so that's kind of put me straight into the pop world, and I've been working on a lot of pop music, kind of a neo-soul, R&B influenced stuff.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and then myself, coming from like a love of rock, I've been producing my friend's project. It's a punk album. It's been a lot of fun. I like that a lot. So I've been working on a lot of other people's music since moving up to LA, which is a lot of fun. It gives me an opportunity to work on a lot of different kinds of music. And then lately I've just been kind of figuring out how to now produce my own stuff and taking a lot of what I composed in school and a lot of my experience as a composer, but now moving that more into a pop and rock vein to be able to write and produce songs.
Cool. And then with producing, you're still writing though, right?
Yeah,
but in sort of a different mode.
Yeah, when you're producing someone, it's a whole different relationship where essentially like you have to figure out with all of the different hats that you wear how to best collaborate with someone for the betterment of the project. So it's always a lot of like arranging and like working with an artist to figure out how to make their music the best that it can be. So sometimes it means playing on it, sometimes it means composing, sometimes it means arranging or writing or whatever that might be. But it kind of like you mold your skills to suit different projects and what the project needs essentially, but you're really hands-on as a producer of like finishing someone's album, finishing someone's song or whatever it might be. You're really hands-on of like every step of the way what it takes to get it to the finished product.
Yeah, cool. So since we both went and did the same master's program at UC Irvine, how would you say that your school studies have prepared you for what you're doing now? Because I tend to be pretty like negative about that, and I have a strange idea that it's not that helpful, but kind of helpful.
Yeah, I think I feel similarly. I really appreciate having gone to school. I appreciate my experience there and the people that I met and the music that came out of it and all of the relationships that I developed while I was in school. But I do feel like for what I specifically am doing right now in music, I didn't need a degree. So there is perhaps a little bit of bitterness that I feel like I wasted time getting my degree, but I also can't really feel that way because all the events of my life led me to be where I am now.
Right, exactly.
So I can't really change any part of my life and still be in the same place.
Yeah.
But I think that in the long run, like I can't deny the benefit of having musical education and having, you know, a foundation built and developing skills as a composer. And I think that, like, no matter what kind of music you make, it's better by having a really diverse experience in music.
Yeah, of course.
So, like, every experience you have is going to feed your songwriting and performing capabilities in some way, shape, or form. So, yeah, I guess that's kind of a roundabout answer of saying that I agree with you that I have kind of like a, what's the phrase? I guess like bittersweet feelings about
not just bitter. You're
not just bitter.
angry.
Like I do have bittersweet feelings because also like I, admittedly too, when I first got into getting my master's, I wasn't convinced that I wasn't going to get a PhD or that I wasn't going to become a professor. I still was considering that as a possibility, and it kind of took, and not to say that I have completely ruled that out for my life. However, right now I am feeling like it took getting my master's to figure out that being a professor wasn't the track for me, that I wanted to do something else with music, that I didn't want to be in school in that way.
Yeah.
So in that case, like, you know, I got my master's to learn that I did not want to be an academic and that I wasn't going to be a professor and I wasn't going to follow that. But I don't know if I would have fully known that without getting my master's.
Yeah, that's a good reason to get a master's, I think.
Yeah.
Actually. Yeah. But Oliver, so you studied jazz drumming up at UCLA.
Right. Yeah. I consider myself a performer first before everything, really. Not to say that I don't, you know, have interests in producing and engineering and all that sort of stuff, but my first love of music has been playing music.
Right.
So I've always wanted to focus my career around that, whatever that may entail. So right now, yes, like you said, I got my degree in jazz at UCLA, which I just learned has split off from the ethnomusicology department this year, or is going to for the first time this year. So when I was there, it was technically still part of the ethnomusicology program. So my degree is in ethnomusicology.
Yeah. It's those old, like jazz being this ethno.
Yeah, right. Like considering jazz world music.
Yeah.
But I mean, I guess, you know, what music isn't world, that's a whole other philosophical
the whole
debate. Yeah, right.
What is
yeah, right. So that's a whole other.
Music that is not of the world.
Yeah. Alien music. Anyway, point being, I mean, I got a jazz degree, and I think the most benefit I got from that was just technique. You know, I learned how to play jazz drums, which was awesome, and I still use that to this day. You know, it's a super invaluable skill to have.
Yeah.
And it's definitely the most I took out of my 4 years there, was just really buckling down and becoming a better drummer. So yeah, I mean, since graduating, like, you know, 5 years ago now or whatever it's been, I been playing with a couple bands. I play in a band called Film Speed right now. Shout outs to Film Speed. I'm playing with them right now. They're kind of my main thing. You know, been with them almost 2 years now, and, you know, we're just trying to make it work as a band in California, you know, among all the other 1,000 million bands that are in California, you know?
Yeah.
Which is a challenge in its own right, but it's, you know, I wouldn't have it any other way. You know, we're trying our best to just hustle and tour and record and do things that bands do.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my main focus right now. And of course, on the side, I'm still writing and producing my own music. Lizzy's actually working on my solo stuff right now. She's been producing me, which is kind of cool.
Cool. What kind of stuff is that?
I don't know if you can tell by my hair, I'm a pop punk kid by nature, so that's kind of what I like to write and what I like to play. So that's the kind of stuff I've been writing.
The two songs we're working on right now are they're kind of like a modern, they do have like a lot of modern elements to it, but they're very much like they have some.
Right.
I don't know. But they're very much like a throwback to like 2000s pop punk.
Yeah.
Sweet.
For sure. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you think.
Heights and like.
No, not that emo.
Okay.
That's too emo. That's too emo. There is emo in it, but that's literally cut my wrist and black my eyes emo. But it's not.
Yeah. I feel like I was listening to that song the other day.
Yeah.
It's good. It's a really good song.
It's a great song. I think it's kind of their only good song though in a lot of ways.
I don't know any of their other songs.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Precisely.
But there's a spider in their music.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, that is a
Yeah.
good video too. Yeah. Oh man,
That's like fast cuts.
Yeah,
to
yeah.
like
That's a throwback for
dirty
sure.
corners.
I think all three of the guitarists are playing SGs, if I'm not mistaken.
Sure.
I think. Anyway, yeah. That's a nice little throwback. But yeah, that's what I like to do. That's how I was raised. That's what I was raised on.
Yeah.
So that's what I like to play. Film Speed is not. Well, that's a whole other story. They used to be in a pop punk band together. The other two members,
Yeah.
Craig and Nick. But now they're playing more a little grown up rock and roll, just kind of straight ahead,
Yeah, it's like
bluesy. Yeah,
Heavy
you've heard them.
AC/DC,
Yeah.
hard
Mhm.
hitting.
Yeah, exactly.
It's cool. So
Yeah.
how much does jazz drumming influence that style of playing?
I'd say it influences it more on like a subconscious type level, where
background
everything
the
is
whole
swung. I refuse to play anything straight. No. I mean, I think like it's just more of like sensibility wise. I always like to think I'm improvising, even though I'm playing parts that I've played dozens of times. The songs are songs. There's no real improv in them.
Yeah.
So but I always like to approach them with fresh ears every single time. I guess that might be the best way it comes in. Yeah.
Yeah, improvisation's important.
Mhm.
Yeah.
There's that there's like the Frank Zappa video that circulates YouTube every couple months about improvisation and how important it is
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
Yeah.
How boring music is without it.
Yeah.
It's kind of true.
It's true, but it's like all the music we listen to and like
Yeah.
big tours and everything. It's just like phony improvisation.
Mm-hmm. Completely composed solos that are the same every time. And
Right. Yeah.
Super boring. I don't
Yeah.
know.
It's really
Like
boring,
even
yeah.
saying that, it's
Yeah.
like
No, you're right. You're 100%
Yeah.
right.
why would
Yeah.
you want to listen to that?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so we were talking about this a little bit before we started recording,
Mhm.
but since Lizzy, you're in production and audio engineering, you might have an interesting take on this, but there's the whole Ed Sheeran scandal where he's being sued for $100 million.
It's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money.
That's
But-
more money than I've
yeah.
ever made in my life. By a lot. Probably than all of us have
Probably
made in
all
our
three of us
lives.
combined. Yeah.
And our parents, and
Yeah.
our parents.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's a lot of money. But
Yeah.
for essentially copyright infringement.
Right.
And it's an idea that I don't know, I've thought about for a long time because I'm not really sure how I even feel about intellectual property laws to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what does it mean to own music is a very weird idea to me. Or what does
Yeah.
it mean to own an idea is
Mhm.
strange. But yeah, so we were listening to the two songs to compare them. Ed Sheeran, Thinking Out Loud, and Marvin Gaye, Let's Get It On. So
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think about?
Yeah, I don't know. It's like obviously an incredibly relevant topic for us since we are all working musicians who write music, and so it's hard to think about that as a composer, as a songwriter, because when you think about, I always like to relate music as being a language, and like when you're fluent in a language, you aren't thinking about you aren't thinking about like how you structure sentences. You aren't thinking about like coming up with the vocabulary where you're just speaking, and it's all part of what you've already learned.
Right.
And it's just coming out in an improvised way. And so when you think about music in that way, all vocabulary that is going to be coming out of you is something that you've already learned from something else. So there is no like fully new idea. It's all kind of rearranging the vocabulary in a different way to say something different or to say something new with the same basic structure. And obviously, like there are some things that are concrete that you can hear it and it's exactly the same. There's other things that
there's people who steal.
There's
like
people who
bad
steal.
actors.
There's
right.
like bad actors who like there was a huge thing in like comedy circuits where like people would like listen to records of comedy shows and then do it word for word on stage.
Apparently that's a huge thing.
It's
in
like,
It still
Europe.
is.
Yeah, it still
Europe?
is.
There's like French versions of American comedians where they're
Whoa,
doing
Yeah.
full
American
acts.
acts. Whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
it's really
but just in
weird.
French.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah.
But and how are the Americans going to know unless they speak French or someone tells them, you know?
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Wow.
And then on the one hand, so then I go back and forth. If something like that, okay, well, we have like written, composed music, and you can create a whole performance recreating somebody else's piece.
Right.
And that is a perfectly valid art form, and that is like a practice that helps you develop your skills to be better at your practice, to be better at your instrument, to be a performer, that also serves you in gaining vocabulary to then be a songwriter as well.
Right.
So it's very difficult, I think, with music to find that line of like when you're just playing something and you're just kind of jamming with yourself and where that's coming from. And sometimes it's not always clear when you're playing where something's coming from.
Right.
Because it's just kind of all in your brain at that point and you're improvising and you don't really fully understand. Then on the other hand, you have people who do intentionally steal, who
Right.
how can I take something that already works and manipulate it just enough that I can call it original and not have someone notice, or like change it just enough that legally I can't be sued. And I'm
Right.
not saying at all that that's what Ed Sheeran did, because I don't know him. I have no concrete, like,
Right.
I can't say either way, but it's a very difficult line to walk, I think, as a songwriter, of like knowing, and it's also, I think it's harmful to the creative process to be super critical every step of the way of like, well, does this sound like this? Does this sound like this? Did I take this from this? You can't think that way when you're creating.
Right,
You just
of
need to
course
make
not.
something.
Mm-hmm.
But I also think that there is a responsibility on creatives, on people who are creating anything, to allow yourself that creative process, but then revisit it later. And if something, there is a responsibility to ask yourself that question and to take that very seriously. And if something needs revision so that it's not so exact and it is more original and it's not a direct reference to something else, I think that that's an important step in finishing something before you put it out in the world. And I think especially like Let's Get It On is such an iconic song. It's
Yeah,
such a
right.
classic song. Like you can't pretend that you haven't heard that
Yeah,
song.
you can't
Or,
say
like,
Ed Sheeran hasn't heard that song in his life.
Right.
Yeah.
But also it's just a song also
Right,
with
it's also
with
just
an
a song.
intuitive bass line and
Yep.
an intuitive
Intuitive
chord
chord
progression,
progression,
and anybody might just randomly
Right.
write that bass line
Yep.
or that chord progression.
And also, like a lot of just listening back, I mean, you can get deep into the analysis of musically how they are the same or similar, which I'm sure that they're doing in court. They did in court in 2016 when he was
Right.
first sued over it. But so much of what sounds the same with the two of them is the vibe, and you can't copyright a vibe.
Also, how many songs have that vibe? That like
Exactly.
slow,
Yeah,
that, like
just
Yeah.
slow jammy kind of swingy
Yeah.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's a genre. That's like
Yeah.
what genre?
That's like
Yeah.
yeah. I don't know.
yeah. So it's
Yeah.
Also,
Yeah.
taking a pre-made musical idea and writing something new over it is another like piece.
Well, that's
of
what
musical
sampling is.
history.
Yeah.
It's like sampling is.
Yeah.
It's like
It's how
it's happened
music
for
has-
hundreds of years.
yeah,
yeah.
that's
It's
how
like
music has always existed.
like
Yeah,
the
that's how it
DAC
evolves.
array
Yeah.
as
Yeah,
a
yeah.
bass line, and you
Yeah.
do this like it's been there for hundreds of years, and I
Yeah.
feel like to say you can't do that anymore
Yeah.
is
It's
limiting
a little ridiculous. Yeah.
the culture and the importance of what music is in the name of like a market.
Absolutely.
Yeah, oh, I 100% agree. Yeah, I mean, like, the most egregious one, I think, because first of all, this is not a unique thing. Like, this has happened, like
Yeah,
you
right.
said, forever. Like,
Yeah.
as long as music copyright has been a thing, there has been people disputing it, you
I
know?
want my money.
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
So, but I think the most egregious one that I've ever heard was Under Pressure versus Ice Ice Baby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? So they they add one note to the
Yeah.
bass line, which is a 4-note bass line to begin with, but they add one note, and I think I don't remember the result, but I think they successfully avoided a composition.
But even
Charge.
in that, it's a totally different song.
It's a totally different song, yes.
I mean,
Mm.
it sounds like they sampled Under Pressure and made
But,
a
yeah.
rap over it.
Right.
Which is
sampling.
something that people do all the
Yeah,
time.
which is sampling. but the thing is, I think to avoid having to pay a sampling right, they added that literal
Yeah.
one note.
So it's a little like
So it's da da
sleazy.
da 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 instead of yeah.
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 And there was the Joe Satriani.
Oh, the Coldplay one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that one's weird because the melody's the same.
Yeah. See, this is the question, right? Is like, what musical facet is the most valuable and therefore the most copyrightable? And I don't think any of it matters. You know, like I think you should just be able to do what you want.
But at the same time, though, it's you did create something.
Yeah.
And you own that thing that you made.
Mm-hmm.
But what does that even mean?
What does that even mean?
Does it mean you own
Right.
the MP3, the WAV file?
Yeah.
Maybe. Does it mean you own like that sequence of notes? Because that's a pretty weird idea to me. Because there's a certain number of notes. To be able to own a sequence of notes is very weird.
Yep. Oh, sir.
It's like owning a sentence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, didn't Paris Hilton tried to trademark "That's Hot"? I think she did trademark "That's Hot."
Yeah.
Like you can copyright phrases.
Yeah, and
I mean that's advertising slogans,
I think
right?
there was something with Taylor Swift like that. I don't know if it was true. It was
but
just
that's like
a
every
rumor.
advertising slogan ever. You know, you can copyright words, so why can't you copyright notes?
Yeah, but that's also weird.
But
You
I'm
can
not saying it's
copyright
not
a
weird.
sound that comes out of your mouth.
Right, I'm not saying it's not weird. It's incredibly
Anyone
weird.
else makes that sound, they have to pay me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very weird.
It's super weird.
I had a friend in college who was like super anti-intellectual property at all, and he thought that there just shouldn't be. There should be no intellectual property laws, and his idea was that actually ends up superseding physical property laws.
How so?
So like a copyright law says that with your physical pen and ink and paper, you cannot write out the words to Slaughterhouse-Five.
Mm-hmm.
That is illegal because those words in that order are intellectually copyrighted. And so with your own physical property, you cannot do that. And so there was this whole argument.
This is another weird thought experiment I do from time to time. I've always wanted to, I think I've talked to you about this before maybe, where I want to take a song, like a super famous song, and like just change the EQ on like one of the snare drums or something, like a snare mic. Like just change the smallest parameter you can and claim it's a new song. Like, you know, where the point is, where do you delineate this as being a complete thing? You know, like if you know, I turn the vocals down 3 dB, is it a different song? And can I call it my composition now? Because, you know, someone had to mix it, someone had to put their time in it.
Should you be able to copyright EQ settings?
Right, yeah.
Compressor settings?
Exactly, right?
But then you're getting to different of like writing versus publishing rights.
Right.
Sure.
Whereas you can't claim writer's rights on a song for changing the mix of a song.
No, that's what I'm saying though, is that's the thought experiment, is like, what if you could? You know? What if changing the vocal EQ or the vocal level was like part of the creative process and therefore part of writing the song? I'm not saying
we just don't think about things like that as really copyrightable. Like it sounds ridiculous to say like can you copyright an EQ setting?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But it doesn't sound ridiculous to say can you copyright
a phrase,
a poem.
Yeah.
That's not weird at all. Like of course you can copyright a poem.
Yeah.
But like copywriting a compressor setting, people are like, okay, come on.
Yeah.
Why not? I mean, it's
It's just a weird
come up with.
It's just a weird delineation. Yeah. I don't know.
It's strange.
I don't know what the conclusion is of all that.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's also like just the way that artists are paid and stuff. It's like the whole Taylor Swift getting off Spotify. Being this important thing. And this is like this other thing that I struggle with. Because I agree that a lot of services screw artists out of money, specifically like the old like recording industry standards and streaming services and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I don't know how much a song is worth. Like, how much should an artist be paid for every play of a song, and like how much should a song cost on iTunes? I have no idea. I don't know what a song is worth.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's worth millions or nothing. Like, it's weird to try and monetize ideas like that.
Yeah, for sure. Yes, it is.
It is very strange, and it's affected also, I think, like what we feel like something is worth is essentially shaped by our experience for what that thing has been worth for our experience on Earth. Where, like, I grew up, it was normal to me to spend $15 on a CD when I was a kid. That was, grew up, it was like, all right, save up my $15. What am I going to buy next with my $15? And I could walk into Media Play, which is not in business anymore, and
along with every other
along
CD
with
seller.
every and so then to make the leap to legal streaming or downloading of music, then, like with iTunes, $1 a song, it was still essentially the same price, where you could spend like your $12 to $15 for an entire album, where you could download them for $1 a song. Seemed normal. And then with streaming, it was suddenly a way for the consumer to get a lot more music for their $1. And
essentially all the music.
So essentially it led people are always wanting to get things for free, so they got it for free illegally.
I mean, that's the expectation now. It's just content.
For everything, not just music.
And so for something like, for music, where we're completely consumer driven, like if we don't have people listening to our music, then we won't have people buying our music, which can't fuel us to make money on our music. Like we have to, if you want to make any kind of living as an artist, you have to be considering the consumer, and that somebody somewhere has to buy your music in order for you to make money off of your music. Totally just lost my train of thought. So we need you need listeners. You want listeners, but
not me.
You don't want listeners at all. But the consumers aren't necessarily thinking about the artist in that way. They're only thinking about the music and their own, like what they want to put on in their car, and having money to put gas in their car, having money to buy McDonald's on the way to work, or like whatever. Like they're not thinking of that.
Me included, actually.
Right, exactly.
I mean, sometimes, but I'm not like, oh, I need to give these artists my money for their art. It's just like, I want this song.
I want this song right now.
And
so with like illegal downloading and leading to like legal downloading and streaming, it was just kind of the consumers getting what they wanted, and then the industry adapting to find a legal avenue for that to happen, which ended up screwing over artists.
But I feel like artists were being screwed over.
They were
being So like the industry was existing on screwing over artists anyways. So the same people who were on top or making money or thriving in the industry as it was were totally fine with it going to this way, because they still found a way for them to get their cut. And artists, the cut all came out of what the artists were getting. But I do hear, like we're working with one artist right now that was just talking about the difference of like two songs that were both getting like millions of streams, one on a label and one he released independently, and he made really good money on the one that he released independently, and he was like, I made plenty of money and it was fine, but the one that got the same amount of plays on a label, he got almost nothing on it.
Because all the money's got to filter.
All the money has to filter down. So then we're seeing that we're like, streaming does still work. Like artists still are capable of making money on streams when they're up getting that many plays, but not when they owe money to people above them.
It's weird. I mean, I feel like what we're kind of saying is that artists are still being screwed over, but they're just being screwed over in a different way, and by different people, I think. Because the old recording industry way of thinking has kind of gone out the window a little bit. It's not focused on record sales. It's not focused on
buying records.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what I'm saying. So no one buys records. So therefore, their outdated way of thinking is having to catch up to everyone expecting to get everything for free. So,
but also I think that.
So I think that they have like record labels have been screwing over people for
as long as they've existed.
Yeah.
You know, like they've like
Since the 11th century.
Yeah.
His old manuscripts.
Yeah.
You know, like I don't think that they've ever fully existed to serve the artist. They've existed to continue to exist, which means keeping themselves afloat and at the expense of whoever.
Yeah.
But I think one thing that I think artists gain now is that the internet has allowed them to have more direct access to their audience.
Right.
Whereas 50 years ago, like, an artist didn't have that direct contact to, like, distribute their music worldwide.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
gain an
YouTube
audience.
stars
Like-
are
Yeah.
a real thing that just people
Yeah.
just shoot up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in that sense, like, it is, I think, the rise of, like, that independent artist who has much more control over their career and much more control over their content and how it's being distributed and how much gets back to them. And I think people are able to build a small business around themselves and their art now where they weren't able to before the internet was.
That's why
Doing what it's
that's
doing
kind of
now.
why I think all these new companies like Patreon and like Kickstarter
Yeah.
and like all these independent things are really thriving because the accessibility is so high now. You
Yeah.
know, like you can just get things out
Yeah.
in like
And like
that.
my
So-
sister's in the English world, the writing world, and she was talking about a friend of hers was a published author by a fairly substantial publishing company and made absolutely nothing until she joined Patreon, and now she's like funding her
Right.
books
Yeah,
on
yeah,
Patreon,
yeah,
just
right.
like straight from like
Yeah.
reader sponsorship that like as opposed to going through her publishing company. Didn't like just being a struggling artist. She was like a #1 New York bestseller, and she was still a struggling artist who couldn't make rent. And then once she joined Patreon, she is able to write, and she's able to
Yeah, independent economies.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's pretty great. I mean, I think more people need to get into it, and then hopefully the cycle doesn't start again where the money gets too big. But
Yeah.
I guess we cross that bridge when we come to it, or something. Hopefully, I don't know. But yeah, I mean, I think that is the most successful way right now is to kind of just take things into your own hands and put things out yourself and market yourself as well as possible.
Like,
Yeah.
Which
flood it with content.
yeah,
But the part-
no, seriously, it is.
Yeah.
It's like a saturation thing, like there's too much content as it is already. There is already too much content. So we are essentially just layering it on as
Yeah,
possible.
but I think that there's an error in that line of thinking in that when you continue to saturate, I find with myself and my
Yeah.
personal experience with social media, I hit a threshold where if I've seen your face too many times that day or that week, I
Yeah.
tune you out and I don't pay attention to
What
you
if
at
it's
all.
a different thing and it's really good content?
I still will tune you out.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Like
I do. Like there's people who post so incessantly that like I'm seeing, oh, Facebook Live video, nope, like shut you off, turn off
Yeah, I mean, I
notification.
don't
I'm
watch
not
that's the
interested.
videos
right, but
of
that's
it.
the same
Yeah.
thing with like radio singles getting overplayed. It's the same thing, like
Yeah, but that's I'm just saying that.
No,
to a
for
future
sure,
point
yeah,
where,
yeah.
Like it's not
No,
only
you can go
about
too
like
far.
like
You
like
can,
you
you can.
can go way too far. Like you can go way too far, and like I think it's much better to post consistently.
Oh, for sure.
And to have consistent content that is
I think it needs to be quality too.
exactly
right,
like,
so
I
it
don't
does.
think consumers will
consistent and
Oh,
quality.
it
put
definitely
up
does.
with poor quality.
Oh,
anymore
hell
either.
no.
Like
No.
in my silly iPhone.
Yeah. Yeah.
I need to get real cameras or else no one's gonna watch it.
But yeah, I mean, you start with what you got, but then you started from the bottom and now you're here. So
I feel like that is always true.
Yeah.
That statement
You've
is
always
like
started
the-
at the bottom, and
now
you
you're-
always are where you
well,
are.
see, well, it's really predicated. It's really predicated on the second phrase, which is you're here. So you're always here. So.
Right.
Right.
Anyway, my point was, I was watching a YouTube video actually about Radiohead and their whole release, pay what you want type model that they kind of pioneered, but. Basically, the point at the end of the video, it was analyzing their music. It was analyzing, their songs and stuff and their musical content. But at the end of the video, he was making the point, which I thought was really interesting, which is that as an artist, as any artist, you get to choose your audience, right? So you get to choose who you're making this for, and you get to choose by through your content, you're choosing who will like your content,
Right.
So what that kind of translates to is if you can get I guess his point using Radiohead was that they're a little inaccessible, right? Musically speaking, it's hard for the layman to get into them or whatever. I don't think that's true, but maybe it is. But so that if you can get a small core enough fan base who is dedicated enough, who will contribute monetarily to your career
right
as regularly as they can, but if it's small but consistent, that's just as successful as having inconsistent millions.
I've heard one of our professors at UCI talked about that a lot, about there's some, like, I can't quote exactly like the study or the article or the book or whatever he was pulling from, but it was essentially saying that all you need is 1,000 fans who will consistently follow you.
There's 10,000.
I think it's less. I think it
was like, if you can have a consistent 1,000 for your entire career.
I think it's that small.
Yeah, who will pay?
Who are dedicated?
Yeah, who will pay for every song, every CD, buy your shirts, come to your shows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if you have 1,000 people who are willing to give you $50 a year,
I mean that leads to like Twitch streamers and stuff. That's why.
Yeah.
It's microeconomy becoming macro type.
Right. I mean, that's a living.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, it's just an interesting time where people are. It's kind of a jungle out there. No one really knows what to do, so people are just
do something.
Yeah. So exactly. So just
Yeah.
keep doing things and hope something sticks.
Yeah.
Is essentially the truth. Yeah.
All right, one more thing.
Yeah.
So, I'm playing in a production of Mamma Mia.
Nice.
So I'm learning all these ABBA tunes.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's great. Kind of. Except I don't like ABBA music, but it's fine.
Yeah.
But what's interesting to me is ABBA is like this band that I feel like a lot of people don't like that much anymore. But it's still like...
It's kind of timeless.
Everyone's like, oh, everybody has to know ABBA. And there's like, I feel like there's a few bands like that where even if you don't like them, you feel like people should know them. And like if you were educating a child on like...
You would tell them.
Yep.
You'd be like, oh, you got to listen to some ABBA. You got to check it out. I don't think I would do that with ABBA.
I would do that with ABBA.
But yeah, so who would you do that with?
The Beatles.
But
do you think that the Beatles are someone that people shouldn't know about, but you're going to educate people anyways? That's what he's saying.
Oh, that
you don't necessarily like them, but
that you don't necessarly like.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
I have my answer.
Okay, go.
You probably know my answer.
Do I? Oh, let me think. Well, you'd say it. Yeah.
You too.
Oh yeah.
Wait, people should not.
I feel like
She
hates
fuck you too.
I
very passionately hate you too.
Oh my god.
Why should anybody know that music?
Because
Are you fucking kidding me? Sorry.
My turn.
Okay, sorry. Go ahead. I'm gonna rebut this. I'm just gonna rebut this so fucking hard, but you go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, my thing is that I very passionately dislike you two.
Same.
And I have no like concrete, logical, analytical reason, but why I must passionately. I just like every single song I've ever heard, every single time I see any of their faces, anytime I have any interaction with you two, I very, very passionately dislike them. But I think that they are a group that has had a significant impact on rock and pop music.
One of the biggest groups in the world.
Yeah.
Of all time.
Yeah.
Of course.
So for that reason, I think that I'm not going to shelter my children if I ever have them from the experience of U2 because I passionately dislike them.
We will have no U2 in this household.
How did you hear about it?
How did you?
It's like.
And then they become the world's biggest U2 fans.
Yeah, exactly. Right. But I think that they're a group that has made a significant impact on the rock and pop world, and I think that like they have had an influence on it. They've have had a long-standing career. There's a reason for that. A lot of people do like them, so there must be something there. A
lot of people like a lot of bad music, though.
Sure.
True, but that's also that's a thought in and of itself. Right,
that's why you brought this up.
That's why you brought this up. I mean, a lot of people really like ABBA.
Yeah. Of course. I mean, they made a whole musical.
Yeah.
With all their music, and they're making another Mamma Mia movie.
Uh-huh.
How many songs do they have, by the way? How many hits?
Well, I think they have the most number ones of all time.
So they have full 2.5 hours.
Probably. They have
they have
several
5 hours of hits.
Probably.
That is insane.
Right? Well, figure a song.
Well, but you
I feel
also-
like even Pearl Jam doesn't have 5 hours of hits.
But you don't.
They don't even
need,
have as much material.
You don't necessarily
period. Like
need
ABBA
5
has
hours.
a huge discography. Like
And you also don't need 5 hours of hits for a musical.
yeah.
You need
you
like
can do some deep cuts.
you can do like 3 to 4 hits per musical with some deep cuts. To
Well,
fill
the
in
first
gaps.
Mamma Mia is just hit after
Yeah.
hit after
It is.
hit.
Yeah.
So they had to save the last few hits for the second one. I don't know what music's in the second one.
Yeah, I don't even know
I
what's
have
in
no
the second.
idea.
I
I
have no
can't
idea.
even imagine what could be in it because
Because it's.
I don't
in the
even know
first-
all the songs.
You don't know the first one, but well, first of all, they're much bigger in Europe than they ever were in the States, so
yeah.
that's the whole other thing. But I think literally they have the most number one hits of all time, just of any artist.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a fact. But okay, back to you too.
Oh yeah. You got to rebut
Yeah, I do have a rebuttal. I mean, say what you will about their songwriting, say what you will about Bono's voice, say what you will about like their lyrics and their political stances, all that shit.
So like
So
3/4 of the musical album.
yes,
Yes.
but their production sense and
Uh-huh.
their timbral sense and their kind of, I mean, I like a lot of their songwriting too, but and a lot of their melodies are really good. A lot of their
Sure.
a lot of their
Yeah.
top lines are really
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
So
They have the like washy, spacey
yeah. So,
sound.
but they kind of invented that in a lot of ways. Like they kind of shaped the '80s with like Brian Eno and okay, fine. Brian, you can credit Daniel Lanois and Brian Eno all you want, but they did it with you too, right?
Okay.
So, and like their delay effects are kind of the most like if anyone ever talks about delay, you have to mention The Edge. You have to. He kind of invented the dotted eighth delay. A little bit, like he was.
invented.
He didn't invent it, but he kind of brought it to the forefront.
Sure.
I'm exaggerating. I'm
No,
exaggerating.
I see what you're saying. Yeah. I'm not really pulling to mind
Yeah.
tons of people doing it before that.
Right,
It's
exactly.
true. Yeah.
Right.
I'm not disputing anything that you have
So
to say.
I
As I've
have
said.
one more. I just have a little tag. Just what I'm saying is, yes, you can dislike all those other things, but I think that that is
Yeah.
enough to
I
Yeah.
see that.
credit.
Yeah, which is why I say I very passionately dislike them.
Yeah.
However,
Yeah,
I
a
think
pillar
that
in the history
Yeah.
of rock
they
and roll.
are
for
a
sure.
pillar in the history of rock and roll,
Yeah.
and so I can't.
And they write songs about incest. So.
Do they? Which
She
one?
moves in mysterious ways.
Oh, is it? Oh.
It's so great.
Pearl Jam has songs about incest.
Nice.
Yeah. Alive? You know the song Alive?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's about a mother like raping her son or something.
Is it?
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah.
Pearl Jam.
Pearl
What's
Jam.
your answer?
Oh, for a band like that? Ooh, I need to think a little bit. That I don't particularly like that is incredibly important. Oh, man. The problem is I kind of like everything, so...
Yeah, I have the same problem.
Yeah.
U2 is a good answer.
I like you too, so it's not a good answer for me. Yeah.
No, but it's such a huge band that it's
Yeah.
like a
Yeah.
bold answer that's
Yeah,
like
yeah. If you take that
it's a
sort of
good
stuff,
answer
yeah.
to the question.
It really is. I think I can't. I definitely won't be able to top it. But I'm just trying to think of
Also,
anything
like
that-
I, as I said, passionately dislike them.
I know.
I feel like any music that you passionately dislike, even
Right, I'm trying to think
if
what
there
it
is, okay, well, like for example, you not passionately dislike, but you kind of discount a lot of country music. And I'm not a huge fan of country. However, I always dispute his dislike of country
Right.
because I think that is legitimately not like
Yeah.
an objective viewpoint
Oh,
of
it's not.
country being bad. It's
Yeah,
just
yeah.
you and your subjective opinion not liking it.
Sometimes.
I think that there's a lot of course there's a lot of bad country music. There's also a lot of bad rock music.
Yeah, of
a lot
course
bad
like
pop
you
music.
two.
U2 goes country. Yeah.
But that's one that you will
They could.
you will often like argue
Yeah.
based on
I don't
your
know.
very you like admittedly don't listen to country
No,
and
no.
therefore you try and say that it's bad.
Yeah, but that's a genre. I'm trying to think of a specific
Yeah.
artist. Yes, you are right about that, though. I won't dispute that. But I like. I mean, the good country I hear, I like, Anyway, but one
But the
artist,
band.
it's hard. What is it? I mean, first of all, it's just hard to find a band I don't have any redeeming qualities for. So.
Well, I mean, I feel
I
like
think any-
they definitely any of these bands will have redeeming qualities.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, I guess Coldplay, but like Coldplay is just watered down U2 and Radiohead. So it doesn't really count.
I feel like they're not
Yeah.
a
They don't-
pillar.
yeah, they're not a
of rock
pillar.
music.
But they're extremely
It'd be
popular.
like Led
They're
Zeppelin would be a great answer.
Yeah,
if
yeah,
you
right.
felt that.
Yeah, yeah.
If you felt that
If
way.
I felt
yeah,
that way,
sure.
which I can't. So, I will say I like The Who better than I like Led Zeppelin, which some people would fight me to the death on, but I don't know.
But
That's a whole different argument.
having a personal preference
trying to
for
think of
one
that.
over another is
Rolling
like a silly
Stones,
thing.
like the Rolling Stones. Okay, I think I'd have to go with the Rolling Stones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I love the Rolling Stones. Don't get me wrong. But I think that has to be my answer, like because
But if-
You don't like them as much as
everyone
they-
else does.
Like,
yeah. As a pillar.
you don't like them to the degree that they are a big band.
Yeah, exactly. Right. I think they're amazing. Their songs are.
Yeah.
I don't know. This is a tough question for me because
Yeah.
I like everything. So, yeah. I don't know. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Sweet.
Yeah.
I feel like my phone just stopped recording.
Uh-oh.
Nice.
So
Did we miss all
so it's
of
just
this?
audio. Well,
Yeah.
I don't know. I'll just like slap up the end on just
Yeah, yeah.
audio with a picture or something. no one will watch it. Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, thanks. Thanks,
Yeah.
guys.
Thank you for having us.
Anything you want to say to the internet?
Check out Film Speed online.
No, on the spot, I don't know what to say.
All right. Cool. Bye. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching Music in Mind. Please like, subscribe, and leave a comment if you have thoughts on this video. If you like my content generally, consider visiting my Patreon page, which has exclusive content for patrons. Thanks, and see you next time.